It's time to relive great moments with former Cowboys.
Eddie, something with the all-time great.
You know, that's one of the great things in having the opportunity to coach here at Oklahoma State was the fact that you had such great people.
It's time for Where Are They Now on Triple Play Sports Radio.
John Farrell, former Cowboy pitcher back in the early 80s.
And you know what, mostly putting up with me, I guess, after, chasing everybody around, chasing us around the country.
Where Are They Now? Our weekly talk with former Oklahoma State athletic coaches, players, and personnel.
Desmond Mason, former All-American player here at Oklahoma State.
So today, that's what I spend most of my days doing. For the most part is, in the studio trying to paint and trying to create, and I enjoy doing that.
It's like catching up with an old friend every Wednesday.
Boy, do I feel old today, as I always do on a Wednesday when we bring back some of these former athletes. We're talking with Houston Nutt.
Sure did. Had a great time. That was of course, my mom and dad went to school there. My brother, Dickie, as you mentioned, went to school there. And, of course, we both met our wives right there in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Now your host, ready to take a stroll down memory lane, here is Tom Dirato.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome once again to Where Are They Now? We're not going to waste any time. We're going to go to the side of the road somewhere in South Florida where Trey Cobb is waiting on a tow truck to arrive. Cobb, what are you doing waiting for a tow truck? Tell me the story about that before we get into the real stuff.
Yeah, well, sorry if you guys hear cars whizzing by the entire interview, but my wife was headed home from work, and then all of a sudden the car just started putting on her and gave out. So she pulled over on the shoulder, and, I had to come in and save the day and call the tow truck, and now I'm sitting here, and it's 95 degrees, and I'm sweating bullets in this car right now waiting for this tow truck to get here.
Let me tell you something, Cobb. You need to sweat and get back into shape after being out of game for a while. A couple of things before we talk about your arm, and let's get to the real important stuff. You and Mama waiting on a big day coming up here soon, huh?
Yeah, huge day. Right now the due date is December 17th, but we've got twins on the way, so.
Oh man!
Definitely not what we expected to do this rehab session, but it's what happened. So we're gonna do our best and be ready for them.
Hey, well, congratulations twice. Not necessarily to you, but to your wife, because she's got to do all the hard work, and you're just there rehabbing your arm, okay? But hey, it may be good for you, Cobb, because little ones that keep you busy, running around, staying up, all those good things. So it might enhance your recovery a little bit. Hey, what I wanted to ask you about, and let's get into the nuts and bolts here. I mentioned it during the show that you're one of the few guys that I know here at Oklahoma State and maybe nationally that basically said no to Major League Baseball twice. Coming out of high school, and then after your junior year, you said no to the Cubs in the 12th round, and still came back and enhanced your round as a senior and went to my Mets in the 8th round. That doesn't.
Sorry about that.
Was that an alligator or what?
Yeah, that was a good old semi truck going by right there.
You are truly on the road, but you better get off that road a little bit there.
I know it.
That's a rarity right there, man. That doesn't happen very often, huh?
Well, I think we've had one interview interrupted by subway traffic in New York City, and now we're having one interrupted by semi-traffic in South Florida.
I think it's you, Cobb. It's not me. I'm going to blame you. Hey, tell me about that draft scenario, though. And that doesn't happen often where you can say no twice and still get a pretty good draft coming out the third time.
Yeah, it's coming out of high school, the teams kind of just send out feelers to see if you want to see what kind of shape you're in, see what kind of, if you want to go to pro ball or college or what. And some guys say, yeah, let's go to college. But that's the route I took. Those pro ball guys, I don't think I could have been ready for that out of high school. But obviously that's the most money you're going to get is coming right out of high school. And so that was, you think it's easy to turn down whenever you say, oh no, I'm going to go to Oklahoma State. And you tell the scouts, there's nothing you could give me. But then the Royals call you on day 2 and they say, hey, we've got $400,000 for you if you come to professional baseball. And then you think about it for half a second, and then you're like, nope, got to go into college, And then junior year in college, I thought I was ready to go. It was storybook where you end in Omaha, you have the magical season, and your dream team drafts you from the team you loved growing up, the Chicago Cubs for me, and everything seems perfect. And then, you know, that fourth year and that degree is just so enticing, and it's tough, you know, and you turn it down and you come back. And I saw a couple articles. I don't know who did it, but it said, you know, a couple of us decided to come back that year, me and Tyler Buffett.
Right. Uh-huh.
And we turned down, you know, the pretty good draft picks, and we saw an article together that we kind of laughed at. It said, "Here's the real reason Trey Cobb and Tyler Buffett came back," and they broke down the draft and the bonuses and stuff like that. But, you know, and they said, well, they were only going to get, you know, $100,000 or whatever. But, you know, what they didn't know is when you come back for that senior year, man, that's a death sentence for you getting any money. Mm-hmm. And so we came back. We decided to come back for our senior year and get our degrees and know that we were, you know, going to get shorted on the money side of things. But we both were able to improve our draft stock. You know, I went from the 12th to the 8th, and I think he went from about the same to maybe the 6th, and we were really happy with that. And in the end, that's what really matters, is what that team views as your draft position. A lot of those teams, those degrees having a college degree will push you up further in your draft position, because they'll say, wow, this guy's dedicated. Mm-hmm. This guy knows what it takes to put his nose to the stone and, you know, get stuff done. And, you know, a lot of those, you know, they'll view like the super talented guys, obviously, as this guy needs his money. And they'll view some of those other guys, those fringy guys, for their junior year and say, oh, this guy just wanted out of somewhere. And
on different levels, though, Trey, isn't this what everybody going through right now in the Oklahoma State camp? I mean, there are no cookie-cutter decisions, right? It all depends on an individual, what their family wants, what they want. How much discussion did you have with your family about all this?
Yeah, they really left it up to me, and, you know, they decided that, you know, it was going to be my choice. And, you know, there's a lot of different situations right now with Oklahoma State, and a lot of older guys that are juniors and situations like that make it tough for them, because your dream is to play Major League Baseball. And so, you know, you want to get in there and have a fair chance at it. But, you know, my family, they didn't push me one way or the other. And, you know, that's what I think is so amazing about, you know, Coach Holliday and Coach Walton. They didn't push me one way or the other. And I'd looked at our roster going into that senior season, and I knew we were thin, you know, on the mound. And they looked me straight in the eye, and they said, hey, you do what you want to do. If you want to come back, that's awesome. If you want to go, we'll support you 100%. And, you know, even just having conversations like that with those guys makes you want to come back and play for them. You know, that they're not sitting there telling you horror stories about the next level. They're praising it, and they're deciding for you to make your decision. But I think that's what helped me the most, was that everybody in my, you know, camp backed off me and said, you decide. And I was able to, you know, make the decision I thought best for myself.
Did it ever cross your mind that this is a business, and maybe this is not the case, but, you know, Major League Baseball might get pissed off once, maybe twice, after you've done this, and maybe they would take it out on you the third time. Did that thought ever cross your mind, or is this just every year is a different chapter?
Yeah, there's, you know, it was always kind of awkward because the same scouts scout you, you know, especially right. Being a high school Oklahoma guy and then a college Oklahoma guy. You know, a couple of the guys would joke with me and say, okay, are you really ready this year? You know, and are you going to come this year? And then, you know, for that senior year, they were making jokes about, you know, hey, well, you don't have a choice. You want to keep playing, you got to come play for us. But, you know, everybody has their different dream, and mine was, you know, to play 4 years at Oklahoma State, and I'm so lucky that I got to live that dream out.
What would it have been, of course, you didn't need an extra pull, but what about this current crop of players? I mean, what would the new stadium be in terms of a tug on their heart to come back?
Oh, you know, I can't speak for them, but for me, that would have been just, you know, that would have been fake and injury worthy. That would have been, you know, my senior year. If I knew that stadium was coming the next year, I might just have to start limping around the field a little bit, try to get one of those medical red shirts so that I could just stick around for playing that thing. But no, yeah, I mean, just to be that first team that plays in there and have a chance to be a first in the Oklahoma State program where it's so hard to be number one in anything or be the first of something because that program is so rich. And to be able to be the first person to throw a pitch or the first win or the first save, I think that's going to really weigh on some of these guys that have this decision to make.
How difficult is it? You've taken this kind of behind your scenes, and I tend to think you would agree with this, that each individual is different, and you can't say – I've seen guys that I was dead set on knowing he was going to leave, and they stayed, and vice versa. But there's a lot of shifting and going around in this thing, right? I mean, where one day you're going to stay, one day you're going to go.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the two best examples of where you really never know what somebody's thinking is, Donnie Walton after his junior year. I mean, we basically had a senior day for him.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, great 3 years, man. All Big 12, 3 seasons. We'll see you in pro ball. Great job, And it was his senior day, and I literally came up to him and I said, happy senior day. And we hugged after the last game in regionals, like, man, I can't believe we lost. Hopefully we'll play together soon another time. And then he said, hey, I'm coming back. Wow, okay. Then the next year we have our catcher, Colin Thoreau.
Yeah.
And, he gets drafted really late, and we're thinking, okay, he's definitely coming back. And he comes in, and, everybody that follows Oklahoma State knows how bad he struggled at the plate that year.
Mm-hmm.
But he was so good behind the plate. And he told me, I said, you're coming back, right? He said, Trey, I got to go before they realize I can't play. He said, I got to get out of here so that I can actually have a chance because, I don't know if I'm going to hit. So they got to take me, and he bet on himself. And, he's in Double-A throwing up great numbers now, but man, everybody's so different, and you just really don't. There's not a guy that you can say that guy is going pro and this guy's not. I mean, you see it in every sport. Who would have thought Marcus Smart would play 2 years at Oklahoma State? I mean, you never know what those guys have going on in their lives personally, but hopefully everybody makes the right decision for themselves. You find no regret from anybody.
You've probably answered this, but, I mean, is it all about money? And, that, again, it's individualized, so you can't just say this guy's about money and this one isn't. But I would think the bigger the dollar figure, the more temptation for anybody, at least out of the gate. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, and it is different. It's from, a lot of people's backgrounds are different. And, if you've got a family that is in a financial situation to where they can help you through the early minor leagues, then it's so much easier to say, well, I'll get my degree, I'll stay for 4 years, and then, my family can help pitch in a little here and there. But, a lot of guys don't have that, and then they get that, $200,000, $300,000, and that's a lot of money. I mean, you can stretch that for a long, long time. But I think that I don't know if it's just, an Oklahoma State program type thing about the type of guys that Josh recruits and Rob recruits and James recruit over there. But I didn't meet anybody in my 4 years there that had that attitude. That was, I'm going to come here and I'm going to get my 3 years in and I'm going to get paid,
Mm-hmm.
It was, everybody had the attitude of, we're in this together. Nobody talked about the draft. Nobody talked about money, which is really, really rare. And you get to the, the next level and you see the guys that have the really nice cars, but not that big of a bank account, and you're like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But they want to show everybody their money, and that was a shock to me coming from, the program at Oklahoma State where everybody is so blue-collar, down to earth.
We hear it all the time, and you can give us a first-hand observation, at least when you were here. I mean, heck, you were at the World Series. The age-old argument, why do they have the draft when kids are still playing? It's a distraction. It takes away from what they're doing. They could wait another couple of weeks, blah, blah, blah. But it's a business to Major League Baseball. They're stocking their teams. They're getting quantity and hope quality will come from that. Did you ever find when you were playing here anybody, you don't have to use the name, that, they were more concerned about the draft than they were playing here?
It's really hard because it's the biggest moments of your life. Your future is on the line. And, I can speak from my own experience on this. Thankfully, it didn't affect the game, but who knows what it would have been like if the game would have been a day sooner. But, my junior season, day 2 of the draft was our Thursday practice at South Carolina, the day before Super Regional started.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody been telling me, my agent, everything, or my advisor then, agent now.
Yes. Yes.
But they said, hey, rounds 4 through 7, you're going. You know, don't even worry about it. We're going to get you this money. And I'm like, awesome. That sounds great. And so we're at practice, South Carolina, and don't have our phones or anything. And, you know, then the coaches would kind of yell out when someone got drafted. And then, you know, they'd say, hey, congrats, this person. And I'm looking and I said, well, I throw more than they do. What's going on? You know, and then, hey, congrats to this person. I'm like, uh-oh, this is getting pretty late. What's happening? You know, and it's running through my head. Thankfully, I'm just shagging batting practice. But, and then, you know, after the day is over, you're pretty distraught. I mean, because you have this thought about yourself, the kind of player you are, and, you know, Major League Baseball sees you differently. And it's kind of a shock to some kids, and I know it was to me. Thankfully, that next day I got drafted early before our game started. But, you know, that was just a big sigh of relief, because the main issue I see is the kids that aren't drafted yet will try to do too much while the draft is going on. So, you know, you've got the rounds going on a Friday, and you play at 1 o'clock that Friday, well, you're going to have a kid try to hit 4 homers instead of just being himself, or you're going to try to have a kid try to throw 100 miles an hour when that's not his game. And I think that's most of the time what kids that trap will fall into.
You know, you talk about maybe the distraction, but I would think, not being ever in this situation, but seeing it from a distance, the team that calls your name would play a big role in it as well. I mean, if you never, like you with the Cubs, that was a dream pick for you. You're talking about Boone and Simpson now, because Simpson didn't have any leverage as a senior, but the Rockies call their name. You know, there's some places that you can kind of superimpose in your mind that, you know what, I might be pretty good at there.
Yeah, and you know, you'll see a name and you'll get excited. And you know, I saw the Cubs my junior year, and I was so amped. I mean, me and Thomas Hatch are best friends. And
yeah,
we did
right.
my wedding, and he had just got drafted by the Cubs, and we were like, dude, we're still together. We're still gonna be hanging out. You know, and he was a huge Cardinals fan, so he was going through his Twitter, deleting all these Cubs tweets that he used to tweet about how bad they stunk. So he was trying to clear his name on Twitter. But, you know, and you see, you know, Colin Simpson and Trevor Boone get drafted by the Rockies, and you think, wow, their bats are going to play perfect in that stadium. And, you know, I had the same thought when I got drafted by the Mets was, you know, the first thing you did was you look up their bullpen and you see Familia's name, and then you don't see anybody else you know, and you say, oh, this is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is that situation you want to be in. And as a senior, you can develop a relationship with the scouts, use the organization, do some research, and then tell the scout before the draft, hey, let's make a deal for this, and I'll tell all the other teams no. And that's something that you don't have the ability to do before that year. And I think that I really benefited from that.
When you look at, and you don't know the answer to this, but there are a couple of guys, one guy in particular that I was surprised, not that he was going to be a top 10 round pick, but I was surprised Cabanis didn't get a look from somebody, a draft from somebody, just a token draft, because he's got the body, he's got the mouth-watering potential of being a good corner outfield, good arm, can hit. I mean, he'll have to learn to hit better, but overall, I mean, he's kind of an athletic-looking guy. Never got at least a draft notice. Would this been one of those cases where he might have made it known that, hey, you know, don't bother because I'm going back?
Yeah, I think so, especially with his size and his defensive ability in the outfield. I think he knows his bat has a ways to go before he wants to test those, you know, professional waters. Mm-hmm. Because, man, in pro ball, you know, you have one bad year and you don't know if you'll come back.
Right.
And I think, you know, he'll come back and he'll be able to really improve his swing this next year, and I think he'll be, you know, the main focus of the offense. And I think that he's going to do really well for himself. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him, you know, break out next year and anchor that outfield and that lineup as well, and then, you know, find himself in a really good spot on draft day.
Now, you're a very confident guy. You know what you were doing when you went to the mound. Your numbers said you deserved it. But deep down inside, were you surprised that you shaved that many rounds off your pick between a junior and a senior, and that you got a solid 8th-round pick by the Mets, an organization that needed you. You can admit now, but were you surprised after turning them down twice?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, especially, after it's crazy because really it is just 1 or 2 outings that somebody has to see you and say, that's our guy, and my junior year, I felt really good about my draft position. I'd started in the Big 12 all year, and then, I'd closed out games. I'd shown versatility. I'd shown the ability to go deep into games, and I thought, man, this is it. This is this is the position you want to be in. And then I get drafted in the 12th round. I'm like, oh, okay. I come back from my senior year. I get hurt, miss the first 6 weeks of the season. Then I'm in a limited, bullpen, kind of rehab recovery role. And the Mets scout just said, he just fell in love with me at Arkansas in that game that I gave up a walk-off home run for us to lose. But that was the best my stuff had been since, I'd got to college. He said I was, 94, 95 miles an hour for 3 innings, and I struck out 7 guys, and I just made 1 pitch that a guy made a good swing on and ended the game. But he said that outing could have, put me in the 8th round for them. And so it's crazy. I mean, you never know when you take that ball who's watching or what they think of you.
Well, let's just say the wind helped that one a little bit, carry it out. But I'll give you credit for that right there. It might not have been a bad pitch. The guy just went down and got it and rode it out opposite field. I remember that one. I'm sure you do as well.
Oh yeah, I see that almost every other night. I think I close my eyes, but I think I pointed to John Littell and I thought he had it. He was just kept running back and running back and running back and hit the wall, and it was gone. I said, man, I can't believe that.
That's baseball, though. Hey, speaking of that, how's your arm doing? You did text me that you're at least throwing now. Not a lot, but you're throwing.
Yeah, I started throwing on Monday. So today was day 2 of throwing, and they've got me throwing a whopping 45 feet. So I'm going 10 throws at 45 and then 10 throws at 60. But I haven't had any hiccups, and I feel really, really good in my elbow. And they said that's a really good sign. They said usually if somebody screws up the surgery, pretty quick. So I was really excited about that.
What's the anticipated structure from here on out? I mean, obviously you're going to increase a little bit more as you go along, but you're looking at working pretty much throughout the summer and into the fall before you even can start thinking about maybe making a comeback.
Yeah, it's about a 4-month-long throwing program, and then you work onto the mound, and then you have about 3 months of throwing off of the mound before you're ready to go into a game. So, yeah, by the time I'm ready to rip and roar fastballs on there, the Twins will be sitting behind the cage watching them.
Seeing if you even hit the catcher's mitt. I mean,
I know it.
Don't be sailing over anybody's head. You kids will remember that forever and ever and ever. Hey, being a College World Series guy, and you know how difficult it was for you guys to get there. The intensity seemed like every time you played the Clemson series, your South Carolina series, you get there, you watch from outside in. But I tell you that series out there, the Super Regional at Lubbock, if you like, which I love, intense. Every pitch, every swing kind of games, you had them there.
I mean, you couldn't ask for better baseball than that. That was, that was edge of your seat, back and forth, just nonstop excitement, and it was crazy. It felt like playing Texas Tech in football, where you have, Texas Tech will score, and you say, oh well, we got to score on this drive right here, or we're in trouble. Yeah. And it's the second quarter. You felt like that in the second inning. Oh, we got to run around base. We got to score them, or we're in trouble. I've talked to a lot of those guys, and they're obviously so heartbroken. I know we're heartbroken, and we're just fans of them, and but it hurts. It hurts bad for them being that close. But looking back on the weekend, so many guys had so many big, important, really cool moments. And, this postseason just was full of them for them. I mean, nobody's going to forget Trevor Boone's home run that was at that game in Oklahoma City. And then, tank, going yard to give them that lead on Sunday in Lubbock was really something special. And I think that, you know, this team, they might not have gone to Omaha and gone to their final goal, but they provided a lot of really great memories for Cowboy baseball fans, and that's why you're a sports fan, so that you can have these memories and have that up and down excitement, and that's what you sign up for.
Well, speaking of memories, we'd be remiss if we didn't have you kind of look back. I mean, that's the utopia. That's where everybody wants to end up on the college level, is go to the World Series. Some teams are more fortunate to go more than once, but you still remember your trip there fondly, even though we didn't win the big one, but we were there and competing for it.
Yeah, and we were in a really great spot. I thought it was a little weird going there because, you know, all forever it's, you know, the locker room, everything, Omaha, got to get to Omaha. And we're the only sport like that. You know, there's 8 teams left when you get there.
Right.
You know, so you're saying, oh, we made it. And then you look at it, oh, well, there's Florida, there's Miami, and these guys are here too. They're good. And, you know, everybody would shake their heads and wonder what's going on if Mike Boynton's team broke out to their huddle and said Elite 8, you know. It would be an awkward situation. But, oh, my gosh, it was amazing. You know, it was like playing in the big leagues. I mean, you had police escort, the stadiums were packed and full, and, you know, the meals were unbelievable, the hotels were unbelievable, and you felt like a celebrity. And we jumped out, won those first 2 games, and we were in a really, really good spot. And unfortunately, they just had Bobby Dahlbeck from Arizona. He just had a heroic performance for them. Kind of came out of nowhere for him and sent us home, but it was incredible. It was what you want as a college experience.
I'm glad you said what you did, because whether it's you or the guys I talked to who played back in the 80s under Gary Ward, you guys are all consistent. And I know it makes it sound like you devalue, and that's probably not the word I'm seeking, but big conference championships, conference tournament championships, regionals maybe are not as important, but this program doesn't start fall workouts and get their hands together and end that first workout by saying, you know, whatever, compete or whatever. It's Omaha. That's what this program's all about. And when you don't get there, especially when you're good, it really stings.
Yeah, especially with, you know, when you're 6 outs away from it with the lead, and you're saying to the Cowboy baseball fan, you're going, I've seen this before, and not like how, you know, our usual Oklahoma State fandom sees games, where you say, I've seen this before, and it turns bad. Usually you say, hey, we're 6 outs away from this thing, Oklahoma State baseball. I've seen this before. We get there. And, you know, Texas Tech had, I think, the best player in America on their team, and he proved it.
Yeah, he did. He really did.
And when you've got the best player in America, you're never out of a ball game, especially when the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour out, right into his power rally. And, you know, the great player had a great swing, and a great team made a great rally. And I think that's the best baseball rivalry in the Big 12 is Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. And I don't think any of the teams I was on, I don't think we could have gone down there and not gotten into a couple fist fights, because
yeah,
I feel like we cleared the benches gotten in front of the dugouts twice a game when we go down to Lubbock.
Well, I tell people there's great respect, and they don't believe me, but I'm glad you validated what I said. There's great respect between the programs, but there's a tremendous competitive dislike between the programs, players, coaches involved. So, yeah, I guess you expect that. Hey, before we let you go, get back, I guess the tow truck hadn't got there because you're still on the phone. But you better get well, my man. That bullpen is in New York is like a screen door, man. A lot of holes in it. And I'm counting on you to get that arm ready to get up there and kind of close some of those holes here.
Yeah, I'm trying my best. We got twins counting on me now, too. So my people that are counting on me is growing every day.
Yeah, well, yeah, just put me on that list, but down the list. The twins will be first for sure. Hey, congratulations to you and Mama, buddy. I appreciate you doing this, especially waiting for a tow truck. And just think, you're about 5 pounds lighter because you had to sweat the whole time when you were doing this.
Yeah, gotta love South Florida.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Okay, see ya. Trey Cobb giving us a little insight into that Major League Baseball draft stuff. And, I think if he shot straight, which I knew he would, there are a million reasons why guys stay and go, and they'll forever will be. And we'll find out what this group of Cowboys will be doing here in the next couple of days or so.